So hemispatial neglect really illustrates just how important the mechanisms of attention and the moving around and prioritization of attention in the visual field really are. So let's go back now and look a little more carefully and in greater detail at the ocular motor circuit for saccade control. The diagram on the right here is from Goldberg, 2000. And in neuroscience, this particular circuit is referred to as the cortical basal ganglia thalamic cortical skeletal motor circuit. Now, I know that's a big mouthful, but there are actually 5 of these circuits, these cortical basal ganglia cortical circuits. And these circuits all work to modulate cortical activity through inhibition. And they encompass the skeletal motor, the ocular motor, the cognitive, and emotive functions. Now, there's cortical input to the ocular motor circuit, and it comes from 2 areas in visual processing. There's the dorsal and ventral prestriate areas, and they project onto these 2 areas here, the lateral interparietal area and the frontal eye field. And then there's the superior temporal sulcus here, and it projects to these same 2 areas. So we have both early motion and early object detection projections into these 2 areas, the frontal eye field and the lateral interparietal area. Now, the frontal eye field itself has reciprocal connections with the lateral interparietal area here. It projects forward and then it gets feedback back. And both the lateral interparietal area and the frontal eye field have direct projections onto our superior colliculus that we talked about earlier. In addition to that, the frontal eye field has an indirect pathway down to the superior colliculus. It projects to the caudate nucleus here, then to the substantia nigra pars reticula here, and then into the superior colliculus. Now remember, the superior colliculus has this retinotopic map, and it also has these recordings of saliency and priority in the visual field. And it processes a lot of this information from that 10% of fibers from the optic nerve that project directly into the superior colliculus. And so the superior colliculus is our gateway here for saccade control. The superior colliculus has projections down here and here into the brainstem to the mesencephalic and pontine reticular formations. The mesencephalic reticular formation controls vertical saccadic action. On the other hand, the pontine reticular formation controls horizontal eye movements. And so when the superior colliculus sends out signals, it's controlling the vertical and horizontal movement of the ocular muscles and hence controlling the saccade. Now, how does the superior colliculus do this? Well, there's a basal ganglia component of the ocular motor circuit, and it works as an inhibitory gate on the superior colliculus. It inhibits it, and it doesn't send signals. It disinhibits it, and it does. Excitatory stimulus from our frontal eye field up here, right, goes to the caudate nucleus and causes it to inhibit the substantia nigra pars reticula formation. And this in turn disinhibits our superior colliculus and allows it to send signals to the mesencephalic and pontine reticular formations. And the superior colliculus has both fixation and saccade cells within its retinotopic motor map. These fixation and saccade cells vie with one another to send signals to the mesencephalic and pontine reticular formations in order to control saccades. Now, with this basic sketch of the system and its functioning in place, we're able to understand saccade initiation, fixation, and inhibition of return, as well as its priority mapping, where it decides it's important for it to saccade to. So Neurons in this network encode visual information in a featureless manner. Lesions involving these structures are known to produce deficits in attentional selection. Electrically stimulating these regions facilitates the selection of objects with attention. And finally, these structures receive information from the ventral visual pathway, which provides the input necessary for summing the relative salience of an object. Finally, visual fMRI responses in the human superior colliculus show that it's got this temporal nasal crosshairs. That is, the map is oriented around a line that runs through the middle of your nose and through your temple. And this map, unlike a lot of the others, right, it has an asymmetry that's absent in the lateral geniculate nucleus in the visual cortex. So Sylvester et al. Present evidence that this phylogenetically older retinotechnical pathway contributes to the reflex orienting of visual attention in normal human beings. And so now we have this sense of how it is that our brain allocates that very important, very precious resource of that foveal processing to particular places in the visual scene that it prioritizes.